Hi everyone, and welcome to a special flock episode of Not the Worsted Knitting Podcast. My name is Michelle, and I am the knitter and knitwear designer behind meeshyfrazz Knits. Oh boy, okay. If you have watched me before, then you will know that I have been very excited to attend Flock Fiber Festival, which was a fiber festival in Seattle, Washington, and it finally happened. So it was this past weekend. Technically the marketplace was Saturday and Sunday, but there were also classes on Friday. So in today's episode, I'm just going to talk about what my experience was like, the things that I did, and the acquisitions that I got, which you can sort of see a little hint of just kind of poking over here, but honestly, there's a few things scattered everywhere. I actually don't think I did too bad, but I got some things and I'm very excited. So why don't we just dive in? I just want to also start before I get into this by just saying thank you to everybody who came by and said hi to me. I was kind of floored, honestly. It was really great to meet so many viewers, and I loved chatting with all of you, and it was kind of overwhelming in the best possible way. Like, I know I said, if you see me, come say hi, but I wasn't really expecting anybody to do that, and when people did, it was just really cool. So if I seemed kind of stunned, it was just because I was like, oh my God, they actually know who I am. But it was really heartwarming and awesome, and I loved talking to every single one of you. It was so cool. And yeah, I mean, if you attended Flock Fiber Festival, then you know that the energy was just buzzing and exciting from the moment it began. So I guess with that, I'll kind of lead into where it began for me. My friend and I, several months back, we decided to book a hotel. We're not too far outside of Seattle, but we're far enough to where we didn't really want to deal with all of the traveling back and forth, and we just thought it would be easier if we actually just stayed there to make it, less travel, less worry about all the things we had to carry back and forth. So we got a hotel just a couple blocks from the venue, and we checked in on Friday morning, super excited, buzzing already, ready to go. We started our morning by getting some coffee, and we actually ran into Andrea from the Knitting PT, which that was super cool. So we chatted with her for a little bit, and then we actually had a class on Friday morning. We decided to take the intro to crocheting granny squares with Becca Denning. She goes by Radiant Beans on Instagram. And we chose this class because we've both been knitting for a long time. If you can hear some noise, I apologize. Bagel found a Christmas ornament and he is playing with it in the corner. Anyway, so we both have been knitting for a long time. Sorry about that. Bagel got his ornament stuck and he was just like smacking it into the corner while I was trying to talk, and I know that that was really loud and annoying, so I needed to help him out of that situation. Anyway, let's get back to it. So my friend and I both have been knitting for many years. So we wanted to take a class where we felt like just absolute newbies, where we didn't know anything, and neither one of us has ever crocheted before. All right, that's not fair. I actually have crocheted like a tiny little amigurumi cactus from like several years ago, but I didn't really know what I was doing and I forgot everything. So we thought this would be a really fun class to take. If you've seen social media anywhere, then you'll know that granny squares are kind of trendy right now. And we just thought it'd be fun to learn. It was really cool, actually. So we had this little like goodie bag for each of us at the table. And so it came with these little granny square stickers. We had like all the things we needed to really get going. So it came with a couple of crochet hooks. I believe all of these items were actually provided by We Crochet, which is like the crochet arm of Knit Picks. I think it's the same brand. It's just like, we have a knit brand and we have a crochet brand. I don't know. But yeah, so it came with these really cute scissors, a couple of different sizes of crochet hooks, and then like just a darning needle for finishings. So, oh, and then also we each got a ball of yarn of Knit Picks Brava, that's upside down. Knit Picks Brava worsted, which this is, I think it's just 100% acrylic. And we each got different colors, so it was set up at the table where we would just kind of share with each other if we wanted to make multicolor granny squares. The class was really great. I will warn anybody who takes a class like this that it really, when we started, she just like dove right in. So if you want to take a class like this in the future, I might recommend doing a little bit of homework first just to learn like how to chain, how to double crochet, and just like get a couple of those basics down, because even though it was something that I had done once, like several years ago, it's not something that was fresh in my brain or something I ever used. So when she started and kind of like dove right into making the granny square, I was just kind of like, oh my God, how do I do that technique? So it took a few minutes for me to kind of figure out what I was doing, and then I got on a roll. The friend that I went with, of course, she was the star student, and she like got it right away. It clicked, and she was like halfway through her granny square before I finally figured out what I was doing. I kept doing it wrong. I just, you know, it just took a little bit for me to like figure out, okay, this is how to double crochet. I don't know why that was so hard for me at first. I think I was just overwhelmed by everything. So, each of us did, the goal was that each of us would do 2 granny squares, and then in the end you would finish them by sewing, I guess crocheting them together, not sewing. I had some issues with my shapes. I do know the difference between a square and a circle and a hexagon. However, this was my first attempt. I got through the second color and was ready to join my third, and then I realized, wait a second, I missed a corner. I didn't even notice when I was doing it until I finished it that, hey, this is not a square. So then I just completely started over, finally got the hang of it, got through the second color, added the third color back in, and then I kind of did the opposite, where you're supposed to do 1 double crochet on the side borders and then 2 double crochet on the corner borders. So I was just kind of working it going along, and I guess I didn't pay attention, and so I ended up doing 2 double crochet sets on one of the sides. So I just decided to make it even by doing it on this side as well. So unfortunately, I did not end up with a proper granny square. Now, that is not the fault of the instructor, and that was honestly the fault of me just chatting it up with everybody at the table. It was great because there were kind of all skill levels at the table. There were some people who actually were pretty familiar with crochet, some that were very familiar, and then there were a couple of newbies like me who were struggling just as much as me, which made me feel much better. And so some people didn't even finish 1 granny square, and then there were some that had done, like my friend did her 2 perfectly. She was able to do all the finishings just right. It was perfect. Of course, she was the star student. So I got to marvel in hers. But I actually really enjoyed doing this, and now that I know what I'm doing, if I actually just like focus and pay attention, I feel like you can knock out a granny square really quickly. And I do think this is something I would like to do on some level. I'm not really sure what yet. I saw somebody who did these really beautiful small granny square earrings and added some like fringe on the bottom. Those have kind of been in my mind that maybe I'll use these techniques and do some like fun earrings. But yeah, so granny square class, first day of flock on Friday, super fun. The 2 hours was over before we even knew it. It was nuts how quickly the time went by, and the people we met were just so fantastic. Like everybody was like super supportive, and there were times where somebody would be like, what am I supposed to do? And there was always somebody who was willing to help out if Becca was at the other table helping somebody else. Becca was very attentive, but you know, there were 2, it was a really big classroom and we were all kind of shoved to the front. So she kind of had to, you know, manage her time between the 2 tables as best as she could. And so it was helpful that we had people at the table who also knew what they were doing to help out when she was on the other side of the room. I do actually have kind of an embarrassing photo that my friend snapped of me that I have to share it because I am so in the zone. It's hilarious. Like, it's a completely unflattering pose and face that I'm making, but I am seriously concentrating, trying to figure out how to double crochet, and I laughed so hard when I saw this photo, so I am sharing it for your viewing pleasure here as well. So that was the class that we took. We only took one class this year. I think in the future it might be fun to take a couple of classes on Friday. One thing a lot of us were talking about was how once we were done with the class, it was kind of like, well, now what? We're here, people are ready for flock, we're in the building, we see the signage, what can we do now? So with no plans at all in the books, my friend and I decided, why don't we just hop on the ferry to Bainbridge, do the trek to La Mercerie and Lamb and Kid. And so that's what we did. Side note to anybody who watched me last week when I was raving about how beautiful the weather was. It was like 59 degrees and I was like, it's gonna be so pretty, we're in for a great weekend. I did jinx us and I'm sorry. It wasn't terrible weather, but Friday especially was warm and quite muggy, and we don't typically get a lot of humidity here, and Friday, in my personal opinion, I thought was just gross. I decided on Friday to wear my moonset tee, which the yarn I used, it's a silk merino and alpaca blend, and I think it had just enough alpaca to make me kind of uncomfortable all day. And that's, you know, it's fine. I loved wearing the top. It's a great top, but that plus the kind of muggy, warm weather made for an interesting afternoon, shall we say. But so anyway, we got to the ferry, and while we were at the ferry, I met my first meeting with a viewer, which it was so cool. Her name is Michelle, and she was there with her daughter, and so we chatted for a little bit. This is where I first learned, and this was a running theme, that I think the cats might be the real stars of this podcast, because everybody who came up to me was like, I love your cats. Which I just thought was hilarious, because sometimes I'm worried that, like, is it too much because they're just chaos behind me sometimes, but it's fun to see that they are as beloved by everybody else as they are by me. So it was really great to meet them. We learned later that there was a Mariners game that day, so the lines to and from Bainbridge for the ferry were quite long. We were able to get on easily, but it was just a lot of people were there. And so we finally got over to Bainbridge, and we decided to get lunch at Bruciato, which, if you haven't been, is fantastic. It's just like a brick oven pizza place, and I will pop in a picture of me with the pizza. I'm not going to show the picture with my friend because I don't think she really wants to be on YouTube, and so we'll just keep showing pictures of me. But it's really great pizza. They also, instead of like a normal like pie serving utensil, they just give you scissors, and you actually cut your slices with scissors, which I don't think I've ever done that with pizza before, but it was kind of fun. That was really delicious. And while we were there, we actually ran into Amy from Knee Knits, who is another podcaster, and that was really cool. So we chatted with her a little bit. She was wearing one of her recent finished knits, which was this like pink tank top. I think it might be a Jessie Made design. I'm not entirely sure though, but it was so cute. She looked so cute. She was really sweet. It was great to chat with her. And after we finished, we went over to La Mercerie. That was our first stop. It was right around the corner from Bruciato. And as soon as we got there, there were just like tons of people. There was actually like a line to get in the store. It wasn't a long line, but it was just there were so many people in the store that you kind of had to wait to like have people shift around so you could like shimmy your way in. It was really hot in that store. I think just because it was muggy outside and there were a lot of people in the store. And the store, if you've ever been to Church Mouse before, it's that store, but they're in it now. It's a good sized store, but when you've got a ton of people in it, you know, it gets crammed quickly, and it was quite warm. So we didn't stay there as long as we wanted to. I was dying. I was so hot. I already run warm and I was just, there were people in the middle, like sitting on chairs, just like fanning themselves. So it was a little bit steamy. But we did get to squish some yarns and see some things, say hi to some people. And then we popped out pretty quickly. Headed back, popped into the Lamb and Kid, which was air conditioned, and that was fantastic. Squished some of those yarns. I mean, if you've never been there, the color selection is phenomenal. Like just so many vivid, bright, highly saturated colors. Like it's hard not to have a lot of fun in there. We didn't buy anything at either store just because, you know, we're saving ourselves for flock, but we just wanted to see just in case there was anything that might have struck our fancy. And yeah, once we did that, we decided to head back to the ferry. We had to wait in a very long line for the ferry that wrapped all the way around to the parking lot, which I had never had to do that for the ferry before. I thought that was kind of nuts. And there were even people asking like, what's going on? Why is it so crowded? And we're like, maybe the Fiber Festival? But then somebody was like, yeah, it's a Mariners game. And I'm like, yep, that's probably why. But I'm sure the Fiber Festival didn't help. All right, so yeah, we headed back from the ferry and we decided to hop back to the hotel for a little bit and like cool off. But we had one other event to go to, which we were invited to a knitting meetup that was at McMenamins 6 Arms, which I had never been to before. I don't think I'd ever been there before. Essentially, they had kind of taken the whole upstairs and it was just tons of knitters up there hanging out. All the tables where everybody was working on projects, getting drinks, having some food. Really great energy, super fun. So we got there a little bit after it started and everybody was really welcoming. We ended up sitting at a table with a couple other people that we met for the first time and, you know, they ended up becoming friends, which that's, I think, my favorite thing about Flock in general is you just kind of start talking to somebody, you know they love what you love, and the next thing you know, you're like, oh, what are you on Instagram? I'm gonna follow you, you're gonna follow me, we're friends now, let's chat. Just really cool. I also thought it was great that like they actually had you put name tags on that had your name and your handle, which was fun because there were a couple of times where I'm like, wait a second, I know your Instagram. So it's just really fun to do, like put faces to names. So we hung out there for a while and chatted, worked on our projects, had a couple drinks. We tried to take a picture, like there was a big group photo where somebody went downstairs to take it from above, but there were so many of us that I only think like half of the people got in the photo. And then like the rest of us are like lingering in the back and like maybe you can see us through the banister. I don't even know, but it was so crowded. There were a lot of people. And that was kind of like the beginning of Flock, like the pre-Flock, if you will. So after that, my friend and I were kind of exhausted from the day because we did a lot. We did a lot that day. So we headed back to the hotel. My friend had grabbed a bunch of snacks and goodies from Trader Joe's that we just munched on, hung out and knit and put the remaining night of Olympics on and then like eventually passed out. And then Saturday was the big day. Saturday was the official start of Flock Fiber Festival. I actually special ordered, well, I didn't special order. I pre-ordered my Flock merch, so I already had it with me, but you will see that I am wearing my Flock shirt, which is from the event, it's their actual merchandise. And then I also got my Flock sticker because of course I needed something to put on my mug. Right now I've only got a cat on it and now I've got my Flock sticker, which I love. And so started it out with that. I also pre-ordered my Jam PDX Flock mug. So that was ready for me, which look at this. Look at how amazing it is. I don't know if she's still selling these. Last year I wanted to get a mug at the event, and by the time we got there, which was really early Saturday, it was already sold out. So we had to do an order after the fact, and I'm guessing that she's probably doing the same thing. So if you go to her website, Jam PDX, I don't know her website, I'll put it below, but she's Jam PDX on Instagram. You should see if she still has these available because her mugs are fabulous. And I have what little is remaining of my coffee from earlier, and it's definitely ice cold. But so those were the items I pre-ordered for the event, so I didn't need to worry about picking them up. So because of that, we, like I said, so last year we got to the event like 2 hours before it started because we wanted to make sure we got a good place in line. There were a couple of places my friend wanted to hit up right away. And so we waited, and then like when the doors opened, people were so excited, everybody was like rushing the door. This year we were like, we don't really need to do that. Let's just show up at like 10:15. The event started at 10. We'll show up at 10:15. We won't have to deal with a line. No, there was still a line. The line was still out the door of the convention center, but it actually moved really fast. So it was fine. And also on top of that, even if it hadn't moved fast, I think we ended up chatting with so many people in line that we didn't even really notice that we were waiting. I think it couldn't have been more than 20 minutes that we waited in line, and the lines were long. So if I've got some footage of that, I do have footage of that, so I'll show that. I've got footage that I took from Flock, and I'm either going to kind of like add it as I'm talking, or I'll put a chunk of it at the end. I didn't get as much footage as I would have liked just because I was just so excited to be there. I ended up chatting with so many people that I just kept forgetting to take photos and video. So what I do have, you can see as it comes, either now or at the end of the video. So we got into Flock, and the first thing my friend and I wanted to do was go to Denim and Rain. If you follow her on Instagram, she has been promoting all of these like hand-painted sheep stitch markers and notions that she's been doing, and they are gorgeous. So we really wanted to go there first because we knew that those were probably going to go quickly. And yeah, I mean, we got into the event probably 10:30, 10:40, and there was already a decent line. So we popped over there first, and we were fortunate enough to get the things that we really wanted. By the time we got there, I was kind of wanting to get one of her hand-painted notions cases, but those were pretty much gone by the time I got there. And so I wasn't super surprised. She had such a limited amount of those. I still can't believe she like hand-painted she hand-painted these scenes onto each one of these notions cases, which is just, it's so much work, and they were so beautiful. But I did come away with these stitch markers, which, look at them, aren't they so pretty? I love them so much. So I really love this guy, but then I also just thought these were so beautiful. The sheep it's big, but it's so pretty. I'm not mad about it. I will find a use for it, and I think they're so beautiful. So that's flipped over, but yeah, just really gorgeous. And that, you know, that's her tag. So we stopped over there and got that. I also got a Flock sticker, which this is something she painted and then reproduced in a sticker. So that'll be something that I probably add to my water bottle. And that was kind of how we started the event. And then from there, we didn't really have a plan. The plan was just to try to go sort of in order. Like we hit that first, which was it was sort of like the middle point of all the booths. And then what we decided to do was kind of start back at the beginning, like the entrance, and then work our way down each row. And I was there with my friend, and then her aunt also came and met up with us. So there were 3 of us, which meant that there were different things that each of us wanted to see. So it was kind of slow going. Like, it actually shocked me. It legitimately took us all day to get from the beginning to the end, just by, you know, taking our time and the crowds and everything we wanted to see. We had these grand ideas that we were going to spend all this time sitting at the tables or sitting outside on the steps where you could like look out. None of that happened. The day just went by in an absolute blur. I met so many people. So many people came up and said hi to me, which was awesome. You guys are so cool. I met so many new friends. All of the booths we stopped in, we just chatted with everybody, and everybody was so friendly and wanted to chat and just share what we were wearing, what we are working on, what we want to do with this yarn. On day 2, I wore my Prismatic Reflection Summer Mod, which is a cotton and merino. I used Knitting for All of cotton merino, and that was a much better option for me than the what I wore the previous day. So I was pretty comfortable in that. But I do, when I'm out and about, and especially when I'm excited and talking, I run warm. So like the first couple hours of the day we had to mask up, and just the combination of all of that, I was still kind of hot. So like, even though I'd done my hair, I ended up just being like, it's up in a ponytail, I gotta cool off. So like, I think next year I might just knit tank tops. But yeah, so, you know, we went to every single booth. I don't think there is a single booth we missed. There are some I wish we'd spent more time in. Some of them, it was just like you couldn't really get in, and that was a little bit tricky, but we really got to see everybody. And so I'll just kind of go through where we stopped and what I ended up coming away with, because I'm not going to talk about every single booth because we'll be here for like 3 hours. But I will talk about some of the things that I grabbed. I believe that the next place I stopped, I'm just going through my little acquisition pile over here, and it's like yarn Jenga, so I'm trying to be careful. The next place we stopped, in my mind, I didn't necessarily have projects in my mind, but I have just been craving kind of chunkier woolly knits. I just want like chunky wool sweaters. And so I was looking for like DK to worsted weight yarn, and I had a few colors in mind. So I knew I wanted like a nice vibrant green. I really wanted like an orangey red. And then I'd been on the fence about like a marigold. The marigold I wasn't sure about because I don't know how it'll work with my complexion, but I've been seeing a lot of marigold and I love it so much that I just don't really care. I just really want to work with it. So those were the things that I had in my mind. I find it's helpful to at least have some idea of what I'm looking for, so I just don't go absolutely nuts. And so the first place where I stopped for a while and finally found some yarn that really caught my eye was Thought to Thread. And that is hand dyed in the PNW. And I got myself a sweater's quantity of these. I'm not gonna hold all of them up because there's no way. But I got this, it's in Persistence Aran is the base, and it is, what is the colorway? Moss. Moss is the colorway, which is extremely fitting. And if you have watched me, then you know that I am currently on a crazy green kick. All the greens I'm really into. And this one feels like a nice fall to winter green, especially it is very, very Pacific Northwesty, and I love it. So I got a sweater's quantity of these, and they were so kind. When I went there, I only saw 4, and I asked them if they had more, and they were like, oh yeah, we have somebody going back right now, just let us know how much you need, we'll go back, we'll get everything you need. And they were back with the yarn within like a minute and a half. I don't know where it came from, I don't know if it like a genie popped up, and I don't know, it was crazy. But it was like there in a flash. And as I was checking out, I came across these, which this is really fun because these stitch markers are made by her. She goes by Warm Stripes. Her name is Wendy Staples. Her Instagram handle is now Very Warm Stripes. I do want to note this because if you are familiar with her and you follow her, her Instagram account got stolen a couple years back, and nothing has ever really come of it, so she had to make a new one. And so if you follow Warm Stripes, that is not her anymore. Her Instagram account is now Very Warm Stripes, and I will put that up just in case. But we've been friends for a while on Instagram. I knit one of her sock patterns, which was fabulous. It's one of my favorite pairs of socks ever. And we kind of bonded over that, and we've been friends ever since. And I knew that she was making stitch markers for Flock, And so I was hoping to see them, but I had no idea. She had mentioned, but I couldn't remember where they were. And so it was very like serendipitous that I bought yarn here and got to the register and saw this and was like, I need to buy this. Like, she did it in a ton of different colors. I spent another 10 minutes trying to figure out which color to get, but I ended up going with this, and I'm so excited that I found one. So this was just a really fun, happy accident to find at the register. And some really, really nice yarn. Oh, in case you are curious, this yarn is 100% superwash merino. And it's an Aran weight, 213 yards is 100 grams. It's really gorgeous. I have never worked with this brand before, and so I'm really anxious to use it. It's interesting because it says it's Aran weight, but it definitely seems like more of a worsted weight to me, so I'll see. It'll be interesting to do a gauge swatch and see how this knits up, but it's really beautiful. Do you see all the dimension in that green? Like, it is literally a mossy PNW green. Like, it's so perfect. So that was my first yarn acquisition of the day. So we continued to meander around, and as we were doing that, we came across a bag. Dawn Catherine Studios was the name, and she had a bunch of screen printed bags and stickers and all sorts of really cool stuff. And if you know me at all, you know that I'm kind of a fan of cats. And I saw this and knew immediately that it had to come home with me because it's a little cat astronaut in space, which is amazing. So I picked one of these up and saw that she also had a little holographic sticker version of it, which is so cute. Look at that fat little cat. So this is probably also going to need to go on my water bottle. Now I'm like, do I need to get another water bottle? I got a few stickers. I also ended up with this sticker, which is also so cute. So yeah, I've got lots of stickers that I need to find room for, but this is just great. Like, she had a ton. There was also this really cool octopus one that was holding a whole bunch of yarn. That one I was also tempted by, but you know, I had to go with the cats. Like, let's be real here. It had to be the cats. So definitely check her out, Dawn Catherine Studios. She's got some really great handmade bags. From there, we wandered over to So Happy Jane. And I have followed her for a while. I've seen her yarn. I've heard it's really wonderful to work with, but I had never gotten any before. But she had so much stunning yarn in that booth, and I ended up grabbing these two skeins, which there's the label, but look at these. So I really, what I really fell in love with was this one first. So this is on the Joyful Fingering base, which is 75/25 merino nylon. And this colorway is called Pistachio Cream. Like, I just loved it. She only had two skeins, so it wasn't enough for me to do anything like a garment with. But I was thinking it might be nice to do just some socks with it. And it was sitting next to this green. And I just, every time I looked at them, I was like, these two need to go together. Like, these are so beautiful. And this is called Sage Advice. And you can see all the different greens in there, and these are gorgeous, gorgeous yarns. So we ended up chatting with her for a very long time. My friends both got yarn there. So she had a lot of really beautiful, like, non-superwash, I think like DK and worsted weight yarns. By the time we got there were already, like, the colors that I wanted, there weren't enough for me. And then she had one that was also like an undyed with like sort of tweedy, which was stunning. And it was a worsted weight. It was undyed natural yarn, non-superwash, but it wasn't the right color for me. Otherwise I would have bought it in a heartbeat. But her yarns are really gorgeous. And she also she's got like a color club. I don't know if it's like a sock club or what, but I was really tempted by that, and then I remembered no mystery clubs. I don't want to do mystery clubs. But she's definitely a dyer that I will continue to keep an eye on because I love these, and she's really sweet. It was really fun to chat with her. We spent so much time at that booth. It was just such a good time. So that's what we got there. And then somewhere around that time, we were kind of meandering back and forth. We also stopped by Newburgh Yarn Co., and she was new to me. I had never heard of her. She is based out of New York, and she was lovely. We spent a ton of time chatting with her, talking with her about all of her different yarns and her dyeing process, which was really interesting because she's still a very small operation, which I thought was actually incredible because she had a ton of different color options. She had lots of bases to view, and the colors were spectacular. So continuing on my theme of trying to find the perfect red, I came across this Coleman red, which I think it might be coming up a little more vibrant on screen. This was actually something we noticed that was tricky. So as I said, I wanted a green, I wanted like an orangey red, and I wanted maybe a marigold. And so as we were stopping by different booths and looking at the red specifically, some booths it was like a little too orange, some booths it was a little bit too like blue, red. And my friend was taking photos of it next to my skin to be like, which one is the right one? Because red is tricky, right? And every time she tried to take a photo, it would just look completely different on camera than it did in person. And so I think this type of red is just a little tricky on screen. So I would say it's a little bit more muted in person. This looks quite vibrant on the screen, but it's still quite gorgeous. And so that is her label, Newburgh Yarn Co. And this is on the Hudson DK 4-ply, and it's a 100% superwash merino, 246 yards, 100 grams. So this is actually it seems like kind of a hardy DK. And just really, really lovely. She had several different reds, and that's one of the things we were talking about is her love of all of the different tones of red and how she couldn't decide which one she liked, so she just made several. And it was hard to decide which one I wanted to leave with. She also had this teal blue green, which almost like a peacock green, and that one is still haunting me. I was conflicted because at that point I'd already bought the green, this like mossy green. And so in my mind, I was like, I don't need another green, especially not in DK. But I kept pawing at it, and then I would leave, and then I would come back and paw at it. I didn't end up getting it, and there's still a part of me that's like, should I have bought it? I know I can order from her, so it's okay, but this is the tricky thing about Flock and about these fiber festivals in general, is like, there's so much beautiful yarn everywhere, and there's this feeling of FOMO at all times of like, oh, I don't know if I'll get a chance to see this again. I don't know if I can get this again. But then there's also that part in the back of your head that's like, don't give in to feeling like you need to buy everything. It's okay. You can always find this color at a later time when you know what you're gonna do with it. And then also, then you start to get to know everybody. You're chatting with them at the booth, and you're like, I really want to support them, but I can't buy yarn from every single one of them because I still have a mortgage to pay. So there's all of those conflicting thoughts going through your head. And then plus it's just like, I don't know, like yarn overload, color overload, friend overload everywhere. It's sensory overload in the best possible way. So anyway, this is what I left with from her booth. I got a sweater's quantity of this, so there are a few more off screen. Really excited to work with this, and it's funny, I'll show at the end again too, but you can tell, well, right now, I didn't even realize the two colors I was picking out were like kind of Christmassy vibes. But I think I'm actually just really ready for fall. I don't want to knit any more summer knits. I want wool, and I want chunky yarn. I am so ready for it. So that was Newburgh. I think that was actually it for my purchases, for my yarn purchases for Saturday. And we were still working our way through. It was crazy because like it had been hours at this point. We stopped to take a break, and we went to Pierogi for lunch. And I think the three of us spent like an hour there just kind of unwinding. My friend was doing a whole bunch of math because she was trying to figure out what yarn to buy, and she was back and forth on a couple different sweater options and how much she would need to get depending on the base. And I think I was just kind of like staring off into the distance, like, you know, just overwhelmed and just thinking about all of the things I had seen, all the people I had talked about. And so we regrouped after we got some food and we got some caffeine, went back in, and I was like, I kept in the back of my mind, I'm like, I still need to get to Hazel Knits because my Flocking Good Time kits are there and I want to see them and I want to chat with her. And my whole thing was just like, I had debated going to her first, but then I was like, no, we're just going to work our way down and we'll get to her. What I didn't realize is she was actually like the very end. So she was like one of the last booths. Once we got to that row, I knew where she was and I beelined for her, but I didn't even get to see Wendy at Hazel Knits until like 4 p.m. on Saturday, which was crazy. I still cannot believe it took us largely the entire day to get through the whole market. Like, it's just nuts. But on the way to see her, there was a booth with sheep, with actual sheep, and I have some video footage which I will play. They were so cute. They were so very cute. I don't remember the name. I'm going to put it up here, but I want to say they were Wild Rose Whidbey Farms. I believe that was what it was. If not, I'll have it down below just in case I mess that up. But they had yarn there too as well. Obviously the main event was the sheep because they were just so cute. There was a fan blowing on them and there was one sheep that was just kind of like blowing in the wind fabulously. And they were just so chill. Like, obviously it was really hard not to like reach in and pet them. Obviously we did not because, you know, boundaries, but they were just so cute. They were adorable. My friend and I just like hung out at that booth for probably a good 15 minutes, just like staring at the sheep. And so we continued to work our way down and we finally got to see Wendy of Hazel Knits and we got to see my sock kit. So if you are unfamiliar, I designed these Flocking Good Time socks. You can see one back there as well. And we collaborated to do kits. The design was loosely based off of the logo this year. Obviously it wasn't one for one, but what I liked, I had pre-ordered this, I guess it was a couple of months ago. I'm trying to remember. I mean, I know she came out with, Jess from Flock Fiber Festival came out with all the merch several months in advance, and we were able to pre-order everything and you were able to see what they looked like. And I ordered this shirt right away. This is, you know, I love like the blue greens, the mints, those sort of colors, aquas, those are my jam. So after seeing that, I just loved the color palette. Like, you've got that blue green and then you've got kind of like orangey reds and browns, like sort of rust colors, which I just really loved. And so I went to Hazel Knits and chatted with Wendy, and we spent, you know, 30-40 minutes literally going through all of her mini skeins of artisan sock and picking out the colors, and we came up with a bundle. And so obviously I started with the bundle when I hadn't even fully fleshed out the design. At the time, I just knew the colors I liked and that I wanted there to be sheep. And then eventually I fleshed out the design, and then we got it test knitted, and then she had a sample knitter do her sample for her store. And then we made kits. Well, Wendy made the kits. I didn't make the kits. I designed the pattern. And so we sold some kits beforehand, but the big thing was actually having it for Flock. That was kind of her like Flock colorway, her Flock kit. And by the time I got there, it was actually really cool. I was watching, there were only like 3 or 4 kits left. And I watched as the last few got taken off the shelves. And that was so cool to see in person. I don't know, like it's just, this may not seem like much, but to me to like see my pattern on display and people actually like looking at it and picking it up and buying it. And then Wendy told me later that she sold out. She sold out of the kits on Saturday, which was incredible. Like I can't believe it. That was just crazy. And Wendy, being the absolute rock star that she is, they went back to the store that evening and made more kits for Sunday, which is just incredible. Like I can't believe they did that. And so they were able to have more kits for people to buy on Sunday. And if you didn't get to attend Flock, or you did and you went by the time they had sold them out, I believe she still has a couple of kits left. I chatted with her today and she said that she's got a couple, but that she will also keep the page up and have a dyed to order option. So if you still want to get your Flocking Good Time sock kit, you can still get it. I'll have the link below for you to see it. Just keep in mind that that is just for the sock kit and you will still need to buy the pattern separately. And I'll have links for all of that below. But if you did buy a pattern, thank you so much. A few of you came up to me and said that you either had already bought it or that you were going to buy it, and that's awesome. Thank you. Like truly, it's really cool. Like, I don't know, Flock is already so special to me just because I get to surround myself with all the things I love, and also people I love and people who love all the things I love as much as I do. But to then also actually have a small part in that and have something that I came up with there and people responding to it, there really are no words. So thank you, truly. Anyway, back to the Flock stuff because you don't want to hear about this. So yeah, we kind of ended our night at Hazelnuts, and there were a few last minute things that my friends wanted to look at. And we ended up like closing it down. Like we weren't the only ones. I mean, there were still a ton of people there at 5 o'clock when the doors closed. So we were wrapping up at 5, and my friend and I got tickets to do the rooftop rendezvous, which also, this was something that was kind of interesting. The doors closed at 5, but then the rooftop rendezvous was also right at 5. Like we didn't actually realize that at first. We thought the rooftop rendezvous was 5:30 so that everybody would have enough time to kind of like shut down. So at 5 o'clock, we went back to our hotel. My friend wanted to get changed and we took a little bit of time to like decompress and like, you know, offload what we had purchased. And so by the time we got back, we were a little bit late to the rooftop rendezvous. But then I also found out several of my friends who went were also late. Some didn't show up until like 6-ish because they thought it was a little bit later. I will say, like, I loved everything about Flock, but if I had to redo anything, I don't know if I would have bought tickets for the rooftop rendezvous. I think we were chatting with a couple of vendors while in line, and they were saying that they were unsure as to why it wasn't. They thought it would have been better on Friday, just like after everybody had set up and people were really excited about Flock, but nothing had happened yet. Basically, the vendors were all just completely wiped out. I mean, you could see, we were wiped out. We were exhausted and all we did was shop. The vendors, I know they were exhausted. I know they'd been up for hours getting everything prepped beforehand, probably didn't get nearly any sleep the night before. And it was also outside and it was still a little bit hot, a little bit muggy. And it was one of those things where, like, it said there were going to be like, I don't know if it said appetizers or hors d'oeuvres, but by the time we got there anyway, I don't know what else was there, but all we saw were like little cups with like a couple of cherry tomatoes and a couple of mozzarella balls. And I guess we were expecting a little more than that. And there wasn't like any music or anything going on. It was really just like people sitting at tables. And so it didn't feel like there was really much to do. So we lingered for a little bit. There were also 3 cash bars. And I think even to get like soda or water, you had to wait in line in those bars. And the lines were quite long. And so we waited for a while in a line. And after a while, we chatted with some people, but eventually we were like, let's just not even do a drink. We'll chat with some people and then we'll just go elsewhere and get some food and a drink. And that's what we did. So It wasn't terrible. It just, we each spent $50 on it, and I don't know if it was exactly what we were expecting. So in the future, I don't think I will do that again, which is okay. It's fine. I mean, Flock is amazing. And like, honestly, I was so exhausted after a day of shopping that I don't even know if I was like mentally up for more networking at that point. So after we left there, my friend and I ended up going to Dozone, which was it's like right down the street from the convention center, and you can just kind of like mix and match and get like all these different like pork buns and noodles and all sorts of delicious things. And we basically just like went nuts. We went nuts at Dozone, and we had absolutely no regrets. It was fantastic. So that was really nice after just such a long day. Like we just kind of sat there and like honestly just decompressed. Like we didn't even say much. Like we were still kind of buzzing, but we were also just kind of like, oh, what just happened? So we hung out there for a couple hours, and then we went back to the hotel, and we were just done. A little bit more Olympics, hanging out and knitting, and then we passed out. And so then Sunday morning, oh, I didn't even mention, but I'll talk about this for Sunday morning. So Sunday morning, our goal was to get some good coffee. Our hotel was right next to Anchorhead Coffee, and we had attempted to go there on Saturday, but the line was wrapped all the way around. I think between Flock Fiber Festival and then there was like some sort of psychology convention or something. There were just so many people, and we tried several different coffee shops. We ended up having to just go to Starbucks because it was the only one that didn't have a line before going to Flock. So Sunday morning, we were like, we are getting up early and we are getting good coffee. And we were able to go to Anchorhead, and it was no problem, which was great. So we got some coffee and some pastries from Anchorhead, and then we meandered over to Flock. We got there right when they opened this time around. We got there like basically right at 10, and it was so interesting, the difference between Saturday and Sunday. Like we showed up on time, not late, and there was no line. There was no line at all. We didn't have to wait in line, and we had the weekend passes, so we had the little band, so even if there was a line, we wouldn't have had to wait. And I guess that's probably why there wasn't a line, because most people have that, but even still, there wasn't a big crowd. It was just like a few trickles of people here and there, and it was so much mellower. So we got onto the floor, and it was crazy, the difference between Saturday and Sunday. And it was actually really nice to have Sunday as kind of your more mellow, chill day. It felt less like, oh my God, I gotta go to this booth, I gotta go to this booth, oh my God, there's a line, will I get to see it? I don't know, am I in people's way? If I turn around, am I gonna like knock somebody over? None of that. It was just so calm. And it actually worked out because there were some people that I had tried to find on Saturday and I just couldn't in all the madness. And we were able to find each other very easily on Sunday, which was really great. And so we were able to spend our time a little bit more calmly. I had gotten most of what I really wanted at this point. And so in my mind, I was like, I don't even think I'm going to buy anything else. Like, I'm good. I'm really happy with my purchases. I feel at peace with what I've gotten. I mean, it's always tempting. Like you go back there and it's just like, I will take one of each of these. Thank you. But my friend hadn't really bought much because she was still trying to take it all in, and she ended up finding a couple of new projects that she didn't even know she wanted and was like specking out yarn for that. So I really wanted to put my focus on finding the yarns that she wanted. And so we took our time, we walked around kind of keeping in mind what she was looking at. It was really cool actually. On Saturday, we had spent some time at the La Mercerie La Bien-Aimée booth, and we got to chat with Amy of La Bien-Aimée for a while because they had this one like neon pink striped sweater sample, and my friend put it on and it looked amazing on her. Like, she had no intention of knitting the sweater or anything. It wasn't on her list, but the colors are really good on her. Like, she can get away with these like crazy neon pinks and corals. And when we saw it, we were basically like, you have to try this on, you have to put it on. And it looked fantastic on her. And Amy came over and was like, yeah, this looks great on you. You should make this. So that was really fun to just be able to chat with Amy, and in a way, oh, my cat Boink is saying hi. So don't mind her. She's just going to hang out on my lap. But it was really great to kind of meet her and chat with her in a very normal capacity and not, you know, worry about like fangirling or anything. I don't know. It's just so fun to meet these people, and you have the moments where you're just like, yeah, we're all just people who really love this hobby, and we love fiber, and we love bright colors or muted colors, I guess. Not everybody likes bright colors, that's fine. But I don't know, it's just fun to see these people and then meet them, and it's just like you're chatting with anybody. So we went back there the next morning because it was just, she couldn't get the sweater out of her mind. So we looked, it ended up that I don't think they had enough yardage for what she was looking for. So then we were kind of on the hunt to find these 2 different tones of hot pink in a fingering weight base and a Surrey base. And we ended up going to Witchfire Fibers. We ended up going there. We chatted with Jess at Witchfire for a while. She was fantastic. She showed us all the different bases, helped my friend pick out exactly what she was looking for. My friend needed more time, so we walked around a little bit, came back, she remembered us, and we picked out the yarn. She had these really amazing holographic bags too, which I'm having a little bit of FOMO about. By the time we got there, a lot of her stuff had sold out, and so what she had left weren't really my colors, which was kind of a bummer because I really loved her yarn. But my friend got a lot of her yarn, and that's good too. I don't have to buy everything. But it was really great to chat with her. We spent some time there, and the ZZ Textiles booth. Both of them are so amazing and lovely and wonderful. And as we continue to meander around, the one booth where I had been in and out of both days several times was Porter Wool Co. They were so sweet and wonderful. It's husband and wife owned yarn studio. They're out of Pennsylvania. And no surprise, there were 2 colors that I had my eye on. One was this like emerald green. Like I said, I'm in a green kick. And then the other one was a marigold. And I had been back and forth on this marigold for both days. Like I said, I want to work with marigold, but I don't know if I can pull it off. But then I'm like, does it matter? Do I care? And eventually I gave in and I bought it. And can we just take a moment to look at how fabulous this is? So this is their label, Porter Wool Co. They had a fantastic booth. They had so many colors, and their bases are gorgeous. We chatted with them for such a long time, gave them recommendations on where to eat, talked about like what kind of different things that she might carry. She's thinking about also carrying some bags, like different sort of like bags and notions and things in her store. And it was just really lovely to talk with them both. That was one of the booths that was like, it was hard to walk away from because it just felt like we were chatting with friends. And I mean, it's kind of that way with so many of them, but they were really great. And so what I ended up getting was another sweaters quantity, and this is the Merino DK. So it's another 100% fine superwash merino, and the colorway is chanterelle. Oh, I love it. I love it. So I'm hoping that with my complexion, being that it's kind of, you know, the browns and everything, I think I can do it. Even if not, I don't care because I love it. So I think what's funny is that, not on purpose, but I think this is a clear indicator that I am ready for fall. I had no intention on buying fall colors, and then I came home and looked at what I bought and was like, yeah, I'm over summer, aren't I? And I couldn't be more thrilled. So that was the last purchase of the day. My friend, I don't think she bought any more yarn after that either. And we kind of continued to wander a little bit. Like I said, there were so many booths that we there were so many booths that I was still tempted by, and she was still tempted by, but either like the colors weren't right, or I liked the color, but there wasn't enough in it. And, you know, at some point you need to know your cutoff. And so we chatted with a few more people, and eventually we just decided, you know, that we would go. Again, there were also, the one thing that was kind of crazy is that a lot of people sold out. So a lot of people were out of stuff by Sunday. I know one that we were kind of thinking of hitting up again later when they were less crowded was Camellia Fiber. And yeah, because her booth was so busy on Saturday, like the whole time. Every time we tried to go in, it was really hard to navigate. So we were like, we'll just come back on Sunday. And she was wiped out, like completely wiped out. So you could kind of like see some of the bases and then place an order, but there was nothing that you could go home with, which is fine. But her yarn was lovely. Oh, there was also one other purchase that I did make that I completely forgot about because it was hidden behind my socks. There was this really amazing booth called Hope Artisan Collective. And I think, yeah, they're on Instagram, they go by Handspun Hope. And they had these buttons that are, their whole, let me see if I can actually show you the tag. Ugh. Sorry, with my cat on my lap, it's a little harder to reach forward. So Hope Artisan Collective, and their whole goal is to give women in, I don't know if it's larger Africa or just Rwanda specifically, but they give women in Rwanda jobs, and they will collect these and sell them and give the profits back to these women. And I just think that's amazing. And they have all of these handmade buttons that are gorgeous, and they're all, I love these. These were, if you know, I have been looking for 1-inch buttons for my field day cardigan, which is kind of a grass green color. And I've been on the fence about what color buttons to get. And when I was there, I still couldn't really decide. So I was like, let me just get one of each because I like them both. So they are all a little different, but they're pretty close in color. But I actually love that they're all a little unique. They're not like 100% matching. And it's, I think, even a little bit more apparent with these how different they are. And they're solid on the back, but obviously the front is really fun. And it's kind of the same with this. These are a little bit more different on the back side. But so they had really beautiful buttons. They had really beautiful yarn too. And then also, just because really fun, they had these ornaments made out of the same material as the buttons. I don't know about you, but I love to buy a new Christmas ornament every year to kind of signify or mark the year. And so I thought it was really fun that I could get an ornament from Flock, because especially this year being a year where I had a pattern for sale there on a collaboration, this is just a really special Flock Fiber Festival for me. And I'm excited to have a Christmas ornament that I can look at and remember everything that that this represents, including the amazing company that I purchased it from. So that concludes my purchases. Wow, I didn't realize that we are over an hour. I guess I shouldn't be surprised since I'm recapping the whole day. But yeah, that was everything. So we ended up getting pierogi again for another lunch, and we meandered back up, did a little bit more browsing, chatted with some more people that we got to see that we hadn't seen on Saturday. And then when we felt like we had seen everything, we left. And it was one of those weird moments where we still had to kind of tear ourselves away, because even though we'd seen everything, it still felt like you didn't want to leave. Like you didn't want to leave the people, you didn't want to leave the yarn. It just all was so special. But you know, we had to check out of our hotel earlier in the afternoon, so we went back and got our stuff and headed back home. And so that was Flock Fiber Festival for us, and it was really spectacular. I loved it. I would say, comparing this to last year, it was like last year, but 10 times better. I mean, last year was phenomenal and great, but I think it being at the convention center this year was really great. Like they were saying when Jess had the video before Flock to kind of let people know what to expect. Like, this is not your typical convention center. It is really a beautiful space. And, you know, the classes were on the 3rd floor. The marketplace, I think, was on the 2nd floor. And so you had the entire floor to move around. Like, in the space where the marketplace was, the whole left side of the space was the marketplace. And then there was a little area on the right that had the stage. It had some tables and chairs for people to sit. There were panels that you could listen to. I think there was like a little food cart, although honestly, I didn't even get a chance to look at it. So I don't know much about what the food situation was like within the marketplace, but I do know that just downstairs, like just past the convention center, or like technically I think it's still attached to the convention center, but outside, you had Piroshki, you had a little coffee shop. Inside there was a little like pizza place. So there were some options that were nearby, which was also really nice. There were plenty of places where you could just kind of go and unwind and still feel like you were close enough to pop back in at any time. And I think the space was just really wonderful. And plus, I mean, what was it, like 150 vendors this year? Like, was a lot. Like, it's hard to put into words how amazing and overwhelming it is. And I say overwhelming, and it's not a bad, it's not a negative. It's just, it's a lot to take in. And it's, especially if you're a little bit more introverted like me, you know, I want to say hi to all of these people and be social, but at the same time, it's a little bit overwhelming to see all of these people, especially, you know, just going up to people and being like, by the way, you don't know me, but I'm a big fan. But it's really fun to do that and see people's faces light up. And it was really special when people did that with me. And I don't know, it's nice to kind of break down that wall and realize like there's nothing to be afraid of. And these are all friends. So if you stopped by and said hi to me, thank you so much. If you took a look at the Flock and Good Time sock kits, thank you so much. If you watched until the end of this video, thank you. Like, all of that is amazing. And I'm already buzzing and excited for next year's Flock. My friend and I have already talked about what we'll do different in terms of maybe staying an extra day to kind of give us that time to unwind. Like, if we didn't have to head home on Sunday, maybe it would have been a little bit different and we could have just like hung out in the building and knit and not felt rushed. Just a few things that, you know, now that we know, I'm assuming, that's of course assuming we're going to continue to be in the convention center. I mean, that might change, I don't know, but I did think that space was really spectacular. So it worked really well. Even though it was incredibly crowded and there were lots of people, it never felt like dangerously overcrowded or anything like that. There was definitely room to breathe and room to get up and walk away if you needed to. So, I mean, Jess and the La Mercerie team, spectacular, amazing. Like, you could see them walking around and just managing things as needed. Like, they're so on the ball. I don't know how this is only the 2nd year of this festival and it's so like well-oiled, you know, it's so fine-tuned, it's spectacular. And I feel so lucky that we have an event like this so close to home. Like, I've always wanted to go to Rhinebeck. It's something my friends and I talk about doing. And it just feels like it's always kind of like, well, maybe next year we'll go, you know, we got to travel, we got to find a place, we got to figure out all the logistics. And for us to have Flock kind of in our backyard, it's pretty spectacular. So yeah, if you've never been before, you know, it might be worth thinking about going for next year. And if you start planning now, maybe it won't be, you know, terribly difficult. But I also understand that it's not always easy to travel to these things. And I am very lucky to have this close to home. So yeah, I'm really excited to work with all the yarns that I've purchased. I've got some projects I need to finish up first before I can really do that, but I will be working with these yarns very soon. I'm sure, as fall starts approaching, and I am so thrilled. So if you stayed and watched all of this, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me, I am meeshyfrazz on Instagram and Ravelry. You can email me at meeshyfrazz@gmail.com, and you can also find my blog, which is meeshyfrazzknits.com. Thank you so much, and I'll chat with you next time. Bye.